group. So one of the biggest consulting firms in the world. They do some recruiting at Penn State, but they normally do obvious. But if you have an interest in any consulting, let me know. I know Marcel. I do a lot of work with him. Um, SAP Gordon Donovan, he does work with SAP. Philip Addison, he's more of a purchasing guy. Daniel Barnes, I'm actually doing a presentation with him. That's another LinkedIn feed that I'll talk about. He's in the I think he's in the UK. I met him at a UK conference. Who else? Who else? Some of you guys are supply chain, right? Okay, yeah. I'm just making sure I'm not sitting here talking for no reason. All right. So who else? Oh, Alex Basso and Daraj. So I spoke with these two last week. They reached out to me last week, and let's see here. Then Visible today. I think, yeah. So Visible today just posted. So we're in the conference, and look at that ugly mug. So I'm gonna be doing a conference with Chief Supply Chain Officer at Unilever. So I'll be doing a conference with him. Deborah Doe, I do a lot of matter of fact, I actually have a. Did I send you all the interview I did with Deborah Doe before? Okay, so let me see here. Actually, I'll do that right now. So on different YouTube sign in. But I have an interview with Deborah on my YouTube vault, so I'll send that over. Somebody just remind me at the end of this, and I'll get it and I'll post it. Peter McMorris, I have an interview with him as well. I'll send it over. And then Mark Pereira, he's the CEO of Visible. So that's an exciting thing. So if you go on my LinkedIn, you go on this Visible post, you can get a ticket to that conference where I'll be speaking. So that's pretty cool. Again, chief supply chain officer, because Peter, I was on a panel discussion with Peter last year. He's an ex-executive for Unilever, and then he connected me with Mark. So now I'm going to interview Mark for a graduate program. So you see how these connections work? That's business, right? So I did a conference with Peter. He used to work at Unilever, but because Mark was Peter's boss, he introduced me to Mark, and now Mark is going to be a part of a class. And now I'm going to ask Mark, okay, what are you looking for students? And now I'm going to get you all in the Unilever. You see how that works? And what company do we talk about all the time? Unilever. So I think I'm more excited about that than you all are. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty awesome. I think that's March. Well, no, I don't even think it's in March. Let's see here. I forgot what date it is. Yeah, March 31st. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Like I said, a ton of stuff's going on. Right now. Stephanie Benedetto, I work with her. I'm actually going to be interviewing her in a couple weeks. I'm actually doing a conference with her, a sustainable fashion conference with her. She just posted that she's working with MIT. I think like $1.5 million funding. I might try to get into that. I might try to get me a little taste of that. So that's pretty awesome. So, like I said, thanks for your patience in last week, but I mean this week has been an absolute whirlwind in the business world, in the management world, and things that we're talking about and things that we're doing. So like I said, I mean that's the thing where we don't talk about theory. We talk about things that are going on in the business, you know. And like I said, the same exact stuff that I talk about with these people that ask me to come to speak at these conferences. That's what I'm talking about with you all, right? That's why we don't touch the book. You know, these people are telling me exactly what they want from you all, right? That's what we talk about. So again, I know that Catherine said that she needs some structure, so I'm still working on that.
Thanks.
All right, so where did we leave off the other week? A couple weeks ago, except for how Catherine hates the way I teach.
I didn't say that exactly.
Yes, you did. Subliminal. All right, so, but you were thinking it. You were thinking it. You were thinking it. Let's see here. We talked about governance. All right. Any questions on project governance? We're good on governance? All right. So when we think about project portfolio capacity and capability management, am I recording this? Yeah, I think I am. When we talk about project, yeah, when we talk about project capacity and capability management, what's your definition of that? What do you think we were talking about?
It's kind of just how you use your resources, like, capacity would be like how much you need, when you need it, how often you need it, and capability is like, kind of just how you're going to use them and how you plan to use them.
Yes, exactly. So if we look at that from a portfolio, so let's focus on capacity first, right? If we look at a portfolio capacity, if we look at, let's get away from Unilever. Give me another company that you could think of that has a portfolio. I want to get away from Unilever because we've been talking about that. I want to switch to a different company for a couple weeks. Anybody?
Apple maybe?
Okay. Yeah, but for Apple, okay. So for Apple, what would make up Apple's portfolio?
Like phones, iPads, MacBooks, watches.
Yeah, but that would be more product lines though. That would be more product lines within the Apple company. Well, you know what? All right. So all right.
I was thinking like the product and then like the series because they have like
Because think about, but the thing is, you have a good point. You have a good point in that the definition of a portfolio is what an organization makes it. You see what I'm saying? Because we've been looking at a portfolio as different companies, right? So you can look at a portfolio exactly how you just explained it. Where I can say, okay, yes, I am the mighty Apple, and we're so massive that we have to break down our product lines into portfolios. You see? That makes sense, everybody? So to your point, let's look at the iPhones, iPads, watches, and all these other things, right? Because like, yes, iTunes is a part of Apple, but you're not going to handle iTunes the same way you handle a Mac or iPhone, right? So it's a portfolio. That was a good one. That one made me think a little bit because everything is under Apple, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So, but the thing is, everything can't be managed the same way. Like I said, iTunes cannot be managed or thought of or viewed the same way as like I said, iPhones and Apple Watches, right? You know what? Now you got me thinking. Let's see here. Oh boy, is this it? Is this the holy grail that we were looking for? Oh boy. I guess kind of, sort of. We can work with it. We can work with it. Let's work with this. Not exactly what I was looking for, but we'll deal with it. Cause like my favorite, the Apple TV is not even on here. Like I can't live without that thing right now. You know? So we actually got to buy some more. So here, if we look at these as a port, let me see if I got it. I don't like that one. I don't like that one. I don't like that example. Let's see here. It might be the best we have at this point in time. All right, we'll work with that. It's the best we have. What is that? Product portfolio management, Apple. Look at that. Look at that. See, they would get points taken away because I don't like that. Because like, where's Apple TV? This is 2016, so Apple TV existed, right? So all right, so let's ask this question. This is an MBA program. What MBA program is this? It's MBA somebody. Man, this is amazing. It's amazing how you just fall into stuff. This is an MBA portfolio management class. I'm just trying to figure out what school it is. Interesting. Let me go ahead and save this. We might be referring to this one. All right, so what they did was, which I don't really agree with it, but they had iPads. So, all right, so what's y'all thought? What's your thoughts on this? All right, so if they did this way, if they did this in a portfolio, that would make sense. Do y'all agree? Or if they just did iPad and then iPad mini and iPad 2 fell into that portfolio, I would take that. Agreed? Mac, I like this. Because Mac mini, Mac Pro, okay. So now this one makes sense to me now because these are actually different items, different products, but I don't know. Where I get hung up is these are different versions of this product. You see what I'm saying? The iMac Mini and iMac Pro, these are totally different items. But I guess you can argue. I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah. They did it right. I take that back. They did it right. This is just really confusing to me. Do y'all understand this? Because I'm like super confused.
Yeah,
What's your
I was
thoughts?
thinking like a different way, like categorize iPad, iMac, MacBook, and then like all their products of an iPad in as projects in that program.
All right, wait a minute.
I think that's what they're trying to do. I just don't think it's laid out very well. I think you're supposed to read it from top down.
So this is like the product line. This is like all right. So if you look at it from a portfolio perspective, okay. So you're saying that the iPad, iMac, iPad Pro, and iPhone These are the programs.
That's
Is
what
that
it
what you're
looks
saying?
like that's what it looks like they're trying to convey. I mean, I don't think I would lay it out that way, but it seems that's how they would do it, or that's what
Y'all
they're
are
trying
school.
to.
Y'all are school of master students. That's what I love. See, I'm liking your thought. I'm liking your mindset here. Yeah, I'm not really liking this too much. They would have got ripped apart on for me, especially graduate school. What do you think, Catherine? What do you think? I'm
Well, they left out like Apple Watches. I'm kind
yeah.
of curious about where that would fall, kind of under the umbrella.
All right, so
And yeah, it's just
let's
not
do it.
very friendly.
Let's do it. Let's do it the correct way. Okay. Make sure I don't open up my crypto mind map. Getting all my secrets. All right, so all right, Apple. Okay. Whenever you start out, this thing gets a little hairy. Let me just go ahead and so you said iPad, right? iPad. What else? So this is the Apple portfolio, right? iPad. These are programs, right? We got iPad, you got iPhone, you got. Is Apple Watch gonna fall? Is gonna have its own category?
I would
I
say
would
yes.
say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's like cellular ones and there's like the SE ones.
The who? See, I don't even know what y'all talking about right now. Mac. What else they have? Mac, Pro, iPhone. See, iTunes has to go somewhere, right? Then you have, but where would Apple TV go?
I think it might be better to break it into products and services. So you would have like your hardware, like your iPhones and iPads under your product program, and then have a program for services where you could put Apple Music and Apple TV and then whatever else they have.
See, Apple TV.
Because it's gonna get run a little bit differently because it's not. I think that it might be better to separate it that way because you're not gonna have the same kind of structure for your like building iPads as you are for running Apple TV.
See if I'm trying to be lazy, so I have to start over. There we go. All right. Services. So these are products. Boom. 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 Right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's I don't know. That makes more sense to me, but I mean, I don't know
What's
if
anybody
anybody
else
else.
say? What's everybody else say?
I think that makes sense.
Products and services. So now you have the portfolio and you have products and services as the program. Then you have the services of the products, right? But then you have, yeah. Because then on the iPad, and you got the regular iPad, you have the regular iPad, and you have the iPad Mini. Who else they say? iPad 2. right? Then you have the Mac. What they have? iMac Mini. Right? Mac Pro, right? Wait. Oh, you got Mac. So would Mac? Oh, so would MacBooks fall under? No, that's a different product, right?
Yeah, I would say it's different.
They also have home pods now.
Who? A palm
Home
pod?
pods and a home pod mini. It's like a speaker for your house.
So that fall like into accessories or something, like an accessory, like kind of with like the.
Home pod. I've never even heard of that.
Is it like an Alexa?
Is that what it is? It's like Alexa?
I don't actually know if it's an Alexa or not. Just said it's a speaker.
Home pod. Huh. Apparently.
Yeah, you could. It says you could say, "Hey Siri," I think.
Okay. How long has this thing been out? Because I've never heard of it.
I
But
don't
that's
know. I
what
was just looking at different products they had just now.
that's what Apple can do. They can just roll things out, and if it bombs, big deal, right? Because I think this one might be a epic fail. 'Cause I've never heard of it. It might be an excellent product. It might
They
be
have
doing very
the
well.
AirPods too.
Yeah, I know AirPods. Yeah. But what would that fall under though?
I think you could
Accessories?
create a whole separate category for accessory. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. HomePod, AirPod, right?
But then they also have like the AirPod Pro. It's like the second generation AirPod.
Then they have like a catch-all with all those little things you gotta buy just because it's Apple, right? So yeah. Anyway. That's what
I
I
have
was
a
gonna say.
question. Like, what about the Apple stores? Like, where would that go? Or would that kind of just be like,
I feel like that
Yeah,
falls
see,
under service.
that's an excellent point because that's a revenue stream, right? But the thing is, they sell all of these things, you know? It's like they sell all of these things. So whether it's online or in the Apple stores, it doesn't really matter. You see what I'm saying? But Isabella, to your point, you want to know, is this revenue from iPhones and Apple Watches coming from online, or is it coming from the Apple stores? Right? So yeah, it needs to be identified somewhere. Because we're going to say, okay, iTunes, now Apple stores aren't going to sell that, right? And like Apple TVs, does that come from online, or does that come from the Apple stores? Because that's what's going to identify whether or not we're going to shut down Apple stores, or whether we're going to build more Apple stores, or whether we're going to expand in the UK or in China.
well, don't they like also like fix things? Like you're like can bring your phone in and stuff there. So they have like
The
that
Apple
whole
store?
service. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually called the Genius Bar.
Who was that?
Gavin?
Okay. Came out of nowhere. Oh, Genius Bar appointment. Look at that. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. So Where would that go? I'm asking because I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm guessing I'm somewhere under services. I mean, it's technically a service offered,
Apple Store.
like support.
Genius Bar. But then you're gonna have to take, man. So these are the problems that we're having when these are the problems that we have whenever we're building like ERP applications. And when we have to create these groups for like reporting and like for tables, like that's where we get hung up. And these things can go on for weeks without a resolution because there's so many considerations, right? So this is, Janelle, you might get extra credit for this. This is a good exercise. Let's see here. You don't need extra credit. If you do your work, you don't need extra credit from me. Because it's almost like there's another level, there's another layer to this where you have the stores and you have online, right? And then these two things fall in here. Although it's going to be assumed that the revenue is going to primarily come from online, they still need to split it out to say, okay, how much of this revenue comes from online versus the stores, right? Man, yeah, this is a good one. And this exercise is the exact same exercise we would do in the industry. Let's see here. So online. Apple stores, right? And then it's kind of like you would have to plot this in here like that, right? And let's see. That's what I'm looking for. Apple stores, you have services, but then you also have to kind of, you kind of have to copy this. Where do those praying hands come from? That was pretty funny. I don't know where those praying hands came from, that's for sure. Let's see here. There we go. All right, so portfolio program project maybe, and then you would have these sub projects. But again, it's all in how you define it, right? So we're essentially going outside of the scope of what you're going to read in a book. Is anyone confused right now? Let me know if you are. Because if you aren't confused, I'm very impressed.
I actually have another question.
No, you started all this. No.
So
What's the
like,
question?
where would Beats go? Because they're their own company that like Apple acquired, but they mainly, I think they just sell headphones. I don't know if they sell anything else.
Where do you get Beats repaired at? The Apple Store?
I have no idea.
Yeah, you can get it repaired at the Apple Store since it's a product of Apple.
Okay. So yeah, so it's gonna be another. It's gonna be just another product on each one of these. Right. So that's essentially again, typically traditionally when we were looking at a portfolio, we were looking at it from a company perspective. But you know what? And from a multi-company perspective, like a Unilever. So this was a good exercise, because for the companies that you all are going to work with, it's going to be something like this. Like whenever you create a portfolio, it's going to look along the lines of something like this, because I would say that yes, some of you are going to work for like the Hershey's and some of you are going to work for the Campbell's, but the majority of you are going to work for these small and medium organizations. And 99, if you want to get technical, if you want to get specific, 99.3% of US companies are small and medium businesses, where they employ 500 employees or less, right? So when I say there's a good chance, there's a pretty darn good chance you're going to work for a small and medium business, right? So whenever you're looking at a project portfolio, that portfolio is going to look something like this, and whenever you have whenever you have a PMO, you're going to be looking at different products and different product types. So Janelle, do you all kind of break things down? Like, and I know you work for a smaller company. Do you all kind of break things down to like product lines, or do you know?
Yeah, we do have product lines because each machine's different, but then we also have like a spare parts department that sells
Ooh.
parts to like our recent customers. If they have like if a machine breaks down, we would sell them the part that they need to fix it, like a heater or motor. Like if it goes out, we'll sell them it, but we like obviously double the margin. We double the price so that our margin is 50%. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is just my personal education, because I had a company in Ohio. They manufactured chick incubators for like baby chickens, for like chicks. That's what they did. It's like they make these machines, right, that would like rotate the eggs, right, and incubate the eggs, and then once they hatched, then they would take them out this incubator and then send them to Tyson Foods, or Tyson would do whatever with them, right? You know what they do with them, but anyway. But their primary customer was Tyson Foods, so Tyson Foods would pretty much hatch these chickens out of these massive machines, and they had a huge issue with keeping their inventory correct, because the same exact products they would use to manufacture these machines, Tyson would call them to purchase replacement parts for them, exactly what Janelle was talking about. And that was their biggest issue. They couldn't forecast it. So do you all have that issue? I'm just asking.
Yeah, because like I am the one that buys the parts, and our spare parts people like come to me, this is an emergency, I need this here tomorrow, and I was like, I can't do that for you. Like this has
Right.
like a 28-day lead time. But yeah, and then they like it causes a lot of problems because then the customer tries to go look somewhere else. But we like
You're the only one that makes it, right? It's your part, right? So
yeah. Yeah, it's awful.
that's interesting. So yeah, that's very interesting, because yeah, that's a big, like I said, that's a big problem in the industry, especially if I mean that their big thing was robbing from Peter to pay Paul. That's all they said the whole time I was on that project. But that's the reality. I said it's actually not that difficult. If you just allocate inventory for spare parts, your problems go away. Oh, but we're going to be holding so much inventory. Yeah. It's better to hold inventory. It's gonna cost you a whole lot less to hold this inventory than for you to expedite and overnight this big 150-pound machine part to your customer. I said, think about it. You know, I said, you have the data, you have the information, you know how often these parts are going to break down. You're not going to be able to forecast every single one, but you'll be able to forecast 80% of them effectively, efficiently, you know. So yeah, it was a lot of back and forth, but at the end of the day, like, listen, they save a boatload of money, you know.
Yeah, we keep some stuff on hand, but like the motors and like heaters and stuff that cost a lot, we
Yeah, I know
don't.
those are expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's crazy how much they'll pay to expedite it. Like I've had expedite fees that are like $300 to $500 extra just to get it in like a
That's
week
nothing.
earlier.
That's nothing.
Really?
That's nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're talking thousands. Because think about it. Think about it. If you have a motor that has shut down an entire line, right? And you have 50 people on that line that you're paying, you have 50 people on that line that you're paying $15 an hour. They're just sitting there. You're paying them whether they're working or they're not. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
true.
pay a couple grand. I'm gonna pay a couple grand to get that motor in there and get it up and running.
Yeah.
You know, because they're coming into work. They're coming into work tomorrow because it's not their fault. It's my fault. So they're coming into work and they're getting paid regardless of about if I have that motor or not. They're still getting paid,
That makes sense. I
right?
guess because we're like a smaller company, I don't see it largely, but it happens.
Right. But and the reason, and you may say that, well, what's that have to do with portfolio management? Everything. Because if you have things like that, so if you look at an Apple and you look at all of these product lines, right? The whole the topic of our discussion was, you know, how do we put this capacity and capability into consideration for a company that makes so many different parts, so many different products, right? So yes, Apple is making different parts and products, but Apple uses contract manufacturers for everything. So one contract manufacturer may manufacture the iPads. One contract manufacturer may manufacture the MacBooks. One contract manufacturer may manufacture the iPhones. But the thing is, if they have an issue with either one of those items, then they're going to look at, okay, what's my capacity constraints? So if I am over capacity with my iPhones, right? I'm rolling out a new version of iPhones. And the demand says, oof, we need more capacity. Okay, can the manufacturer that makes iPads, hypothetically, help make iPhones, right? So now because of their capacity, now I'm going to move production for capacity for iPhones to the iPad manufacturer, right? And then not only does the capacity come into play, but the capability comes into play as well. Is that iPad manufacturer capable of making iPhones, right? So now all of these things are coming into play, and all these are interconnected. Like I said, you might have a manufacturer for iPhones, manufacturer for watches, a manufacturer for iPads, and a manufacturer for Macs. But they're all interchangeable because now I have to see, okay, which manufacturer can make what in the event that I need to pull a product from one organization and pull them into another one. Perfect example. Okay, the motor goes down on the iPhone line, right? Can I move production from iPhones to iPads, the iPad line, or to the iPad company? That motor goes down. They call Janelle's company. Not only are they in the US, you know, it's Janelle's company has manufactured that motor. Uh-oh, I'm down for a month. So I'm going to take all these parts from the iPhone manufacturing facility, and I'm moving all those parts to the iPad facility. And we're rolling again in 2 days. It happens all the time in supply chain. So that's why. So you say, how does that have to do with portfolio management? That's how it does, right? Blady, do y'all do anything like that? Or you don't really get into production, right? You there?
Not really. We just keep getting updates on like currently our production has been like kind of like altered that we can't produce that much that we're like people are buying too much that we can't produce enough, especially
Really?
when it comes to Reese's. Yeah, we had to like halt like development in terms of like how many Reese's we're sending out to different stores because we don't have enough to send. So like typically they buy in bulk and like right now our lead times in terms of producing Reese's is like really high. So like we're kind of struggling in production, but
Why is that?
I didn't really get like why, but like I think like since COVID hit, like they switched over to making like they made like gloves and everything and didn't focus on because they didn't expect like high interest in Reese's, but like it's picked up that they can't like keep up with the demand.
That's very interesting. Huh. That's your homework assignment. Figure out what the problem is. I'm curious.
Yeah, I can ask my boss tomorrow about it.
He'd be like, why? My professor wants to know. He's like, tell him mind his business. Okay, fair enough. Catherine, did y'all have any issues like that?
Not really. None that at least I've been around for.
Okay. Okay. Isabella, what about you?
Nothing that I really like know of. I
Okay.
mean, like our baler broke, but they fixed that. Like that took a little bit, but that's about it.
Your baler?
That like it smushes all of our cardboard and like condenses it and just makes it like a big like I don't know how to exactly explain it, but like I guess a part broke in it and it took a while for them to get it.
So you had to break down boxes on your own, like by hand or something?
I guess they
Are you
just threw them away. I don't even know like what they do with them. I know like some people come up like with a big truck and they take all of our like bales and all of our like expired stuff. I don't know what they do with it or anything like that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Yeah, they usually typically sell the bales for like in terms of recycling money.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I kind of just was like whatever with it.
Yeah, the baler, the recycling is decent money. Well, I mean, I don't know about paper, but I was at a well, the one union organization I talked about in Ohio. So because they stamped out like these circles for like pure later cans, um, they would get all the scraps, and then someone would come twice a day and take all the metal scraps and just haul it away from them for free. So then I asked a question. I said, "How much y'all getting for that?" It's like, "Oh, I said we're just happy for him to haul it off." I said, "He's getting money for that metal." He said, "Oh, it's the owner's buddy, so we don't worry about it." I said, "Okay." I said, "Because he's making a boatload of money off of y'all." So he was pretty much taking scrap and selling that scrap for money. Yes, he has operating cost, but he's been taking two loads of a dump truck of metal to the recycling facility twice a day for years. Right? So he's paid his operating expenses years ago. He's just profiting right now. But what none of my business. Anyway, so Sam, do you have any issue? Do you have any issues like that from like where you have to look at your portfolio and make any kind of changes from a capacity perspective?
I mean, for as far as capacity goes, pretty much like I would say for our on-site location, we about 70% of what we order is from like our Fastenal hub stock, and then like the other 30% is like we buy from vendors that are our individual branch manages, and the hub stock has just been a complete mess because of COVID.
What do you mean though? What's Hubstock?
Like we have like warehouses, I guess, like 15 of them around the country,
Yeah.
and we just send in and we can get everything next day. That's like the Fastenal exclusive brands and stuff like that they stock. that pretty much every Fastenal uses. So they consolidate it and stock it in one place, so we can get it like next day for people, less cost.
Mhm.
But pretty much all of the PPE stuff, I mean, we're still stocked out of some products that we've had to, go third party and try to ship. So it's just been a complete mess trying to get stuff.
Mhm.
And we've had to kind of move over to independently sourcing it. And one of the contract or the stipulation in the contract for doing vendor managed inventory is that we don't charge shipping to the customer. So we eat cost all the time. It just comes down to we'd rather stay in business with Eaton than charge them a boatload of money for stuff. So
Good
we
point.
lose-
Good point.
I mean, we overnight stuff all the time. The Eaton, they do a good job of not trying to take advantage of us. But if it's going to shut down a line, it's like, well, we'll eat a couple $100.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because that part probably you probably made 10 grand in profit off of it. So yeah, it's nothing. So yeah, that's the biggest thing from a portfolio perspective, where you look at your portfolio in its entirety, right? So you have to look outside of the brand you work for example, right? And you have to look at the entire portfolio of what is the capacity of the portfolio as a whole. So if I am, so let's go outside of manufacturing, because everyone's not in manufacturing, right? So let's just look at services, right? So like I work for a consulting company, and we had capacity for consultants, in supply chain. Then we had consultants in HR, consultants in finance, right? So we had capacity of all those consultants, and we also had some consultants on the bench. So we had all these consultants in different portfolios. So I have a supply chain portfolio, finance portfolio, an HR portfolio, a CRM portfolio, for example, right? But then you also have the capacity. So you have this many consultants in HR, you have this many consultants in finance, this many consultants in supply chain, etc. Right? But then you have the capability. So you have okay, you have some people that they just stay in the supply chain lane. You have some people that just stay in a finance lane, but then you have unicorns that know finance, they know supply chain, they know HR, they know CRM. Right? That's where that capability comes in. So I called myself a unicorn whenever I was younger in my career. They tried to throw me in this finance bin, and I have refused to go back. I hate it. Right. But I can go in the supply chain space and the HR space, and I can also go in the CRM space, right? That's my capability. I check all the boxes except for finance. Just no, I don't. No, ma'am. No, I don't. So that's a capability when you're looking at it from a service perspective. And the same thing holds, and not us to the individual perspective, but the same thing holds true for an organization. So how can your organization fulfill those requirements from a capability perspective? So we talk about the guiding principles. We talked about that a few weeks ago, and guiding principles being the governance. So there needs to be a governance structure as well of how do you cross the lines, if you will, from a capacity perspective. So what is the portfolio governance structure for me to go into a different product line? So if that product line has capacity, what's the governance structure to say when can I go across those lines, if you will, right? What is the governance structure for Apple to go? If iPads have the capacity, what is the governance structure for iPhones to go into that iPad to take away from that iPad capacity? Because that particular line is capable of producing iPhones. That makes sense? Yes? Okay. So that's where those guiding principles comes in. And then you also have capacity management. So capacity management is going to inform you that you are able to cross that line. You know, so what's your definition of capacity management? Anybody?
Isn't it kind of just what kind of quantities you need for your resources, when you need them, how often you need them, what kinds, and where they're going to go, where they're going to get allocated to?
Yeah, so that's from a product perspective. But what about from an individual, like a workforce perspective?
Maybe like how much like someone is willing and able to take on, like how many tasks.
Yeah. So you could look at it that way, and also I always use the example of like a hospital, right? So within a hospital, a nursing manager is going to know how many occupied beds are there at the beginning of each shift, right? And she'll also he or she will also know how many nurses they have on that shift. So they'll know whether or not they're above capacity or below capacity. And if they need more capacity, that's whenever he or she will call in nurses that are on call based on that demand, i.e., those occupied beds. Right? So that's where that capacity management comes in. But Sam is exactly correct. You look at capacity management from a product perspective, and you also look at it from a people perspective. So, and again, so if we look at that capacity management, if you combine that with capability management, this thing can get hairy. Because now you say, okay, for iPhones, which lines can make iPhones? Okay, iPads, Macs, MacBooks, and that's about it. Right? You have to match them up. So now if we use that example, if I say iPhones can use the iPad, you can use the iPad company or line, the Mac iPad company or line, or the MacBook company or line. Now I can say, okay, that's a capability. That's my capability area. It's checked off, right? That makes sense? So then I can say, okay, what's my capacity for iPads, Macs, and MacBooks? So now once I have that available capacity, and once I have my available capacity for iPhones, iPads, Macs, and MacBooks, now I know at any given point in time, if there's an issue where I can trade, where I can pull iPhones down to the iPad company, the Mac company, or MacBook company. Just like that, right? So again, just like in your project management class, the most important process was the planning part, right? Same thing with portfolio management, with capacity and capability management. Because I know that those three are capable, now the next step is to say, okay, what's their available capacity at any given point in time? And let me see here. Can I pull that up real quick? All right, let me see here. There was one presentation. There's a presentation I did years ago with Rutgers. Give me a second. This is going to give you like I said, a practical example, real life example. Rutgers. Here we go. Perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. It's an oldie but goodie. 2014. I was your age back then. All right, so that's what I'm looking for. So this example here is a real life example that we did years ago. Let me see here. I'm gonna stop share, reshare. So going back to what we're talking about with capacity management and capability management, what we would do at Blue Buffalo is we would get our information from Petco and PetSmart, right? And then all of this, so the Louisville warehouse and the Nebraska warehouse was where we stored our inventory, right? So we had all of these, you probably can't, can you see it? Yeah. So we had all of these, I'm not gonna move my thing because then you'll get the bottom block. We had all of these wet and treat co-packers, manufacturers, if you will, down there at the bottom. But then you had the dry food like the kibble and things like that on the top left over there, right? So when we talk about capacity and capability management, that's all we did in this scenario. Every single week, we would say, hey, Triple T, what's your capacity? Hey, Dads, what's your capacity? Hey, Shenango, what's your capacity? Because the capability, that's our capability right here. These guys can make dry food, and then you see the duplication down here on the bottom. These same guys can make wet food, right? But only these guys can do packaging. That's a capability, right? So the capability was established at the onset. But then every single week, we would say, hey, what's your capacity? Hey, what's your capacity? Hey, what's your capacity? Hey, what's your capacity? And then every single day, every night, Petco, PetSmart, and Tractor Supply would give us our point of sale data. We would feed that into our forecasting system. And then we would get our signals to say, okay, we need to produce 10,000 pounds of dry food. So now, since they gave us their capacity on Monday, then their capacity, based on their capacity, we gave it to one of these four guys. Or if three of them could do it based on their capacity, then we would say, okay, give me your price. We don't care who we choose because we know they're equal. We don't care who we choose from a quality perspective. We're taking the lowest cost right now because three of them can do it this week, right? And they could do that, and all of them knew that they were competing. All of them knew they were competing with each other, but because we would always give them their minimum quantities on a monthly basis, they didn't care. So they would say, so we always went with the lowest cost. If they had the capacity, we always went with the lowest cost in almost every single case, right? So that, and I wanted to show that because what we're talking about this week, that's the portfolio, right? And the capacity and the capability management, this is a perfect scenario of that. These are all capable as outlined by these lines here. But when it comes to the capacity, that's whenever we would pull out. That's whenever we would say exactly which ones we would choose. All right. Does that make sense? Yeah. I forgot about that one. I couldn't find a better example on that one. So any questions on that? Anything to add? Any other examples that you can think of after going through that? Anything? All right. So that's capacity management and capability management. So that's supply and demand management, going back to that Blue Buffalo example. You know, that supply and demand, we were getting feeds every single night of what the demand was. right? Getting feeds every single night. And we would then communicate. We would communicate with those co-packers, with those manufacturers. And then those manufacturers would say, okay, we need this much kibble. We need this much tomato puree. We need this much carrots. We need this much raw materials. And this thing was a well-oiled machine. It was a well-oiled machine because everyone talked to each other, and we shared all the data. It was almost simple. It was almost simple, right? And it came down to everyone trusting each other and everyone communicating. And that's the problem that most companies have now. They don't trust their suppliers, so they don't share data with them, right? So that's a perfect example, and that's why they're a case study at Rutgers, you know. So we talked about the capability assessment. Again, going back to that capability assessment, we assessed which of these co-packers could do what. So again, we threw in our wet pet food in one area. I don't know what you can and can't see. We threw our wet pet food suppliers in one area. We then had our dry pet food suppliers in the other area. And that's how we did that capability assessment. And they were always locked in, right? And that continuous communication told us what the capacity was at every single week, right? And the organizational capabilities, again, came down with that communication. So because in our case, it was external, right? But internally, you have to perform what we refer to as a skills matrix. Has anyone done that at your companies before? All right. So, well, it's done a lot in a service-based organization. I do it with every single company because a skills matrix is going to tell me what your strengths are. You know, so for example, so whenever I said the capabilities where in professional services, we had, supply chain, finance, HR, CRM, and things like that. So if I had a project, I needed someone in finance, I go to that skills matrix, and I can see who has that particular skill, right? And now I can go to our other tool to see, the percentage of time that person is allocated, and I can see if that person's available. So that skills matrix gives me insight into what the skills are that's going to fill my need, if you will, right? So if you look at this from an organizational perspective, that's where the organizational capabilities are going to come in. What's the skills matrix of that organization? What's the skills matrix of those resources, the individuals within the organization, right? The company could probably do it, but all their good employees are on other projects. So, okay, what's your bench have? So what's I would say when it says organizational capabilities, I would add what's the real time organizational capabilities, because the best resources are almost never available, right? They're on the high profile projects. They're never going to be on the bench ever, right? So I would say that when you talk about organizational capabilities, you have to say real-time organizational capabilities. That makes sense? And because the organization's best employees are always unavailable, that's why you have to do that capability development. You have to, and you've heard of continuous improvement, right? That's why, and you've heard professional development, right? So that's why I'm big on professional development within an organization. And that's why I'm big on organ, just because just because I teach, I don't feel this way, but that's why I say that paying $30,000 for an organ for an individual to pay for somebody's grad school, that's nothing. That's nothing. I've said for larger organizations, I say that if you don't pay for every single person to go to grad school that's interested, I said you're kidding yourself. I said that $30,000 across 2 years, you're gonna get the ROI in like 6 months from the things they're gonna learn. You know, and it's, I mean, there's a meme on LinkedIn that's been floating around for years, and it's between a CEO and CFO, and like the CFO says, okay, what if we pay for this person's grad school and they leave? And then the CEO, like word cloud, says, okay, what if we don't and they stay? You know, so it's an ongoing discussion, but to me it's a no-brainer. And some people, I've heard some organizations say, so I was actually when I was in grad school at Penn State, I was with the vice president from Verizon. He was VP of supply chain from Verizon, and he said that Verizon had to change their policy because people were getting like master's degrees in real estate and leaving and starting like real estate companies. I was like, okay, duh. I mean, you're in supply chain and you get a real estate license. Okay, duh. So they actually put it in where you had to get approval to go to grad school to see if it's tied to your current role or your career goals. And then they said that it'll get paid for. It kind of like had like a scale to say, okay, we're going to pay for your grad school, but you have to stay with us 2 years after you receive it without paying it back. And we'll pay for the whole thing. To me, that makes sense. That's no brainer, right? But if you were to leave, they're still going to pay part of it, you know? So it's to me, it's almost like there's nothing to lose. But again, that's just my thought. I may be biased, but and you'll get other people to say that, it's not worth, a graduate degree is not worth it. I say it's worth every penny. I'm transparent. I paid $100,000 for my PhD. I paid $100,000 for my PhD. I received the RO in like 6 months. That's the truth. My thing is, it's all in what you do with it. It's all what you do with it. And that's what I tell. I just had a phone call with an individual. She goes to American University, and she's graduating. She's graduating in the spring, and she wants to start her PhD. I said, do it. I said, start filling it out right now. I said, work with your advisor right now. I had that call on Monday. She texts me on a Friday to say that she's doing her presentations with the board of directors for American University. You know how massive American University is? Just because of her interest, and just because they researched her to see what she did, and now they see all the excellent work she did on diversity and inclusion, and now not only is she going to get into the graduate program, but now she's going to present to the board of directors. It's what you do with it. That's the most important thing. And that's why I got into higher education. I was getting a PhD to make more money, like I told you before. But whenever I went to Morgan State University, which is an HBCU, and I asked them what they're going to do with their graduate degree, and nobody told me nothing. That's when I said that I'm going to share my experience, and I'm going to pay it forward. And I'm going to tell them the truth, that just because you get it does not mean you're going to ride off into the sunset happily ever after. It's the same exact thing for this undergraduate degree. Just because you get an undergraduate degree does not mean you're going to make $60,000. That is not going to happen. You have to put forth the effort. If you put forth the effort and you work with it doesn't have to be me. And you work with your professors. We know people. You will have no problem getting a job if you work with your professors. No problem. And you demonstrate, because every single one of you in this class, every single person in this class has demonstrated that they can make it in the industry. So you work with your professor, even one you've worked with you had years ago. Professors are flattered to help you. They're honored to help you. Just reach out to them, right? Like I said, they know people. I got 2 emails a day. One for Gertrude Hart chocolates or something like that. Look, so if anybody wants to go in purchasing, I got an internship right now. I got an email. And then I got one for another company. We get emails every day, people looking for jobs, people looking to hire students. Oh man, I tell you, Gertrude Hart chocolates, purchasing department internship. If you're interested, send me an email. This comes from James Wilkerson. So Professor Dr. Wilkerson from Scranton is doing that one. So yeah, if you're interested, send me a message. All right. So I know I ran it on that. My fault. Won't be the last time. But you know, the capability assessment is very important. And I mentioned I went on that rant for capability because that's what it's all about. And that's gonna be your competitive advantage within an organization. What are you capable of doing? Right? And that's a differentiator. That's what's gonna set you apart from your peers. You know, and you know, you also, from an organizational perspective, you have that performance reporting and analytics. That's an individual perspective, but you also have it from an organizational perspective as well. So that's how. So going back to our Apple example, Apple is going to look at the metrics to see how the Apple stores are performing against the online stores. And then that's how they're going to make a determination of, okay, do we need to open up more Apple stores, or do we need to shut down Apple stores? Online's not going anywhere, right? But the Apple's main thing from a metrics perspective and an analytics perspective is they're continuing to look at these Apple stores. Because Apple stores are exploding in China right now. They're opening up Apple stores all over the place in China, right? But it kind of slowed down in the US, you know? Apple stores were one of the first stores. When I think if I'm not mistaken, the Apple stores were one of the first stores in China to open back up during the pandemic. You know, so that's where the analytics comes in. Whenever you're looking at an organization's portfolio, and then like I said, finally you want to balance the organization's capacity and capability. So like I said, you want to look at what the organization's capacity is. So going back to that Blue Buffalo example, I want to know what that organization's capacity is, but are they capable of delivering high quality products or services based on that available capacity? Right? And it's the same thing from a service perspective. Are they able to, although they have all of this capacity, are they capable of delivering quality products or services? Right? So that's the most important piece. Because in professional services, I could have all these people on the bench that are available from a capacity perspective. I look amazing. But if I have new college grads on the bench, they're not capable. Right? So you have to have that balance. You have to continue to assess both. You know, like this Blue Buffalo example, I already know what they're capable of doing, right? So all I had to do was look at the capacity. But if you're looking at certain things like professional services, you have to look. So professional services, like for consulting, you always have to look at the capability more than you have to look at the capacity. If I'm going to pay you $250 an hour, that person better be capable. and in some cases $400 an hour. That person better be capable. I don't care about capacity. You better be capable, right? So that's all I had to talk about. That's all I had to talk about tonight. Any questions? Catherine, was that more structured?
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. You know I'm
I
gonna
did
call you out
appreciate
every,
it.
you know I'm gonna call you out every week, right?
I do. Well, I did have one thing. The LinkedIn learnings are in the syllabus,
Yeah.
and there wasn't like a submit button anywhere for them, so I just emailed you them.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll do that now. I'll do that now. All right. So can you resubmit it?
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, I'm gonna do it right now. If I don't do it right now, I'll forget. Just being honest. You know, you all know I'm real with you. Anything else while I'm doing this? Assignments.
You had sent that email about the project that was going to take place instead of the exam.
Oh, the celebration of scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, oh yeah, give me a second. Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot about that. Forgot to talk about that one. My fault. Give me a second. Let me fix this real quick. Let me fix this real quick. All right, try that now. I'll fix the grades. I got to figure out how much grades. So see if you can upload it. All right. So celebration of scholarship. All right. So let's see here. Wait, make sure. All right. Celebration of scholarship. Nobody's from the Wilkes-Barre campus, right? Where's my home at? I gotta see where my stuff went, my videos went. No one's from the Wilkes-Barre campus, right? All right. So I put the celebration of scholarship in here. I said the celebration of scholarship was going to anybody from the Scranton campus? No.
I am.
Okay. Who was that?
Ken.
Okay. So the reason why I asked the question is that so we're actually doing a celebration of scholarship at the Wilkes-Barre campus, and we have a number of awards. Actually, it's a lot of money, actually. Anyway, but we have a number of awards where we're going to be issuing out for posters. But given that none of you are on the Wilkes-Barre campus, how many of you have heard of this at your campus? Really? I think every campus does it. All right, what about this? So, all right, so we actually don't have that many. We actually don't have that many submissions this year. So this is a group question. You can either do the celebration of scholarship individually or as a group, because we opened it up to the end of the month. I mean, so it's due on the 5th. So celebration of scholarship is essentially a poster presentation, right? So it's a poster presentation that can pretty much be on. There is going to be some criteria of questions, but the awards are going to be based on best poster. It's going to be based on. So there's an award that the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, which I'm a part of, is issuing out for social justice. So diversity and inclusion for the most part. And then I'm actually taking the proceeds from my book, and I'm creating a corporate social or a sustainability award. So the best poster in terms of sustainability is going to get some money for first, second, and third place, and then the diversity and inclusion committee that I'm a part of, we're going to give awards out for first, second, and third place. All right. And then there's going to be awards for best poster, and I think there's going to be an award for chancellor, from a chancellor endowment fund or something like that. But and we said that we're not going to say, oh, because you're not from the campus, you can't submit it. Well, y'all are in my class, so if you want to do it, you can submit. All right. Now I said in other classes, I said that this celebration of scholarship is going to replace an exam. And I did have people that pushed back to say they want the exam instead, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, that's going to be a tough exam I ever created. It's going to be bad. But but it's going to be up to you all. You know, do you want to do it, or you just want to do an exam? I'll leave it up to you. Because none of y'all are from the campus, so I can't make you do it.
If it's open to us, I mean, I'll vote for that. I don't know what everyone else is thinking.
Or
Yeah, I
if two
agree.
people want to do it, you can just submit it. And you know, hopefully you can get an award or something, right? And then we'll just continue on with the exam. So what do you think?
I'd like to do it.
All right. So if you go to sites.psu.edu/WB scholarship, if you go to the COS intent to participate form here, put in your first and last name, put in your Penn State ID, email address. If you want to do it, that's completely up to you. Whether you want to do it based on a team or individual, that's completely up to you. And then put our class in, and then put just like my name. Then you're good. All right. So, and another thing is that you'll have to record a presentation via Zoom, and given this, but it's going to be unlisted. And some of those awards. So if you win this competition, you get put in to be reviewed to go up against the winners of other campuses. So there's like the campus level award, but then there's like the Penn State award, right? So just by default, if you win any award within this campus, then you'll get reviewed for the overall award just by default. So again, that's why I just can't understand why people just didn't want to do it. But you know, you have nothing to lose. So I'll leave that one up to you. I'll just move on, and we'll move forward and continue on with the exam. You know my exams are easy. If you study, if you get the content, you know my exams are easy. That's what I'm saying. If you don't make an A in my class, I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, if you don't make an A in my class, you just didn't show up. So, and I have nothing for you. Not unless you tell me my teaching is absolutely horrible. And again, you're not going to hurt my feelings saying so. See, now if Catherine struggles, it's my fault.
Yeah, exactly.
See, she already told me. She's already told me, so it's my fault, right? So, but in all seriousness, I'll leave it up to you. All right. I'm not picking on you, Catherine. If I didn't talk about you, I don't like it. I don't have a problem.
Okay, good.
Sam will tell you that. I look out for people. I look out for people I talk about. All right. Again, like I said, I'm not for everybody. So if you find offense to it, let me know. Now stop.
No, I can take a joke. I'm good.
All right. So let us continue then. But seriously, thank you for your feedback. Catherine. Please continue to be honest, because again, that's my ultimate goal. You know, if you think anywhere I can be helpful and increase your learning, just let me know. You know, I adjust. Like I said, I come from ministry. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just speaking. I'm just telling stories. I'm just telling stories based on this course content. I don't know anything about portfolio management. I'm just telling stories. All right. Any other questions? All right. Y'all have a good week. Send me a message if Catherine, did you check to see if you could drop that in the Dropbox?
Yeah, it worked.
Okay. All right. I'll hang out. If y'all want to talk. Y'all have a good week.
You too.
All right. See you.